Hi. So we've been talking about Joseph the last couple weeks, and now we're going to skip forward in time about 400 years. So all of Joseph's brothers and his father Jacob, they all lived in a place called Goshen, which was part of Egypt. So they were still in Egypt, um, and they didn't go back to their home in Canaan. And then the people of Israel just stayed there for a long time, like 400 years. And over time, the people there says, over those years, the people of Israel began to call themselves Hebrews. The Hebrew people had kept on living in Egypt because they liked it there. There was lots of food. But after 400 years, most of the Hebrew people had become slaves. They had to work for Egyptians, but there got to be more and more Hebrews. The Egyptians began to be afraid. So now this is where we start a new story, and we hear about how Moses came to be. Okay? Here we go. Those Hebrews, grumped the Pharaoh. Soon there will be more Hebrews than Egyptians. Why doesn't somebody do something? Sir, said one of the helpers, you are the Pharaoh, the king of Egypt. Could you do something? I guess so, said Pharaoh. He talked to Shiphrah and Puah. They were midwives, women who help when mothers are having babies. When one of the Hebrew women has a baby boy, Pharaoh said, I want you to kill it. Shiphrah and Puah could hardly believe that someone would ask for such a terrible thing, so they made a plan. Let's tell the Pharaoh how strong the Hebrew women are, said Puah. Let's say they don't need us to help the babies be born. Their babies are born before we get there, Shiphrah told the Pharaoh. This was a very brave thing for the two midwives to do. If the Pharaoh had found out, he might have killed them. But the Pharaoh believed what Shiphrah and Puah said. So the Pharaoh tried something else. He gave an order. When a boy baby is born, throw it in the river and drown it. The Pharaoh sent his soldiers to look in all the houses to make sure all the baby boys were drowned. The Hebrew people tried everything to keep their babies away from the Pharaoh's soldiers, but usually the soldiers found the babies anyway. When a woman named Jochebed gave birth to a baby boy, she and her husband Amram didn't know what to do. They kept the baby hidden for a while, but as the baby grew, it was noisy sometimes. They knew the soldiers would find the baby and kill it. One day, Jochebed and the baby's older sister Miriam had an idea. They made a special basket for the baby. They fixed the basket so it would float on water. Then Jochebed and Miriam took the basket to the edge of the river. They put the basket in the water among the reeds. The soldiers will never find the baby here, said Jochebed. Miriam, please stay close by so nothing bad happens to the baby. Imagine Miriam's surprise when she saw a princess come down to the river. It was the Pharaoh's daughter coming to have a bath. Now Miriam was really worried. If the princess sees the basket with the baby, she'll call the soldiers. They will kill my baby brother. Sure enough, the princess saw the basket. She sent one of her helpers to get it for her. Oh, what a beautiful baby, said the princess. The little baby was crying, so the princess picked it up and cuddled it. I'm going to take care of this baby as if he were my own. Then Miriam heard that. She had another good idea. She ran over to the princess and said, Would you like me to find someone who can feed the baby milk from her breasts and take very good care of it for you? Why, yes, said the princess. So Miriam ran and got Jochebed, her mother. Take this baby and take good care of him, the princess told Jochebed. I will pay you for your work. Later in the day, Miriam and her mother were talking about what had happened. Miriam jumped up and down and squealed. She was so happy. Shh, said her mother. People will hear you. But Jochebed couldn't keep from laughing. All I wanted was to keep my baby from being killed by the Pharaoh. Now the Pharaoh's daughter is paying me to look after my own little baby. I think God must have some plans for this child. When the baby got a little older, the princess took the baby to the palace to live. I will raise him as if he is an Egyptian, said the princess. He will live like a prince in the Pharaoh's palace, and I will call him Moses, which means I lifted him out of the water. That's the end of our story for today. What do you think of that? Isn't that a funny way to try to hide a baby in the river in a basket? And what were the chances that the princess would come along and break the rules that her dad had made and save this baby and raise him as if he was Egyptian? That's kind of strange, but sometimes there's times when rules that are made by governments are very cruel and they hurt people more than they help them. And when people are afraid, sometimes they make rules that they think are going to protect them or make them feel better, but it actually ends up hurting people. And that's kind of what was happening here. When the Egyptians began to become afraid of the Hebrew people, because they were different, because they spoke a different language, they started doing things to try to protect themselves. Those kind of things happen now. And so God wants us to pay attention and be aware when we're more afraid of people than we should be or need to be, and start making rules that hurt people. And so God actually wants us to act like the midwives did, to save the babies and not hurt the babies, and to act like the princess and save the baby Moses that she found. So there's lots of people today. You might hear about the protests that are happening, or know that people say Black Lives Matter a lot. Things like that. That they're working the way God wants them to change the rules and change the government so it's not so cruel, and so that it's kinder and a better way, more equal for everyone to live together peacefully. Okay? It's not an easy thing to know when the rules are not good rules, right? Because we always teach children to follow rules, but we also need to be aware when people are being hurt, right? All right. I can't wait to see what picture you draw of this story. All right. We'll find out more about Noah. This is Moses. We'll find out more about Moses next time. See you later. Bye.